York Times best-selling book a couple years ago was called Pieces of My Heart. He's back with a new one that is more old Hollywood and more old school. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis. Robert Wagner. Robert, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, McGraw. Great to hear you, and Kelly. How are you?
You bet. The book is You Must Remember This, and like your last book, I think more in this one, you missed those old Hollywood days, and you wanted to go back and sort of tell us the story, right?
Well, yes. When I started, when Scott and I started to investigate this period, and I have so many people asking me about it. Young people say, what was it like, and this and that. And so I thought, maybe it would be a good idea to kind of get into this. And as I got into it, and we started to look at some of these places, and they were all gone. So I thought it would be a good idea to try to document them as much as I could, and with my experience, and go for it.
People don't realize, we made a joke earlier, that you're basically the Forrest Gump of old Hollywood. I mean, you worked with everybody.
Yeah, I had some real. Well, I started pretty young. I started at 18, and I had the opportunity of meeting some of these really great actors and wonderful people, and I just wanted to put that down because I was blessed with that, and it was the best part of my life. I had the most thrilling time then, and I thought if I could put it down, and the people that would read it would have maybe get some of those thrills themselves, it'd be wonderful.
All right, a couple questions here. We don't have a lot of time, so let's get right to it. The book is Robert Wagner, You Must Remember This. I love Charlie Chaplin. He's a genius. Tell me about him. Tell me about him. What do you want me to tell? What do you want to know about him?
Well, I'm probably like you. I met him once, and I went to school with his son, Sidney. He was a terrific friend, and we were close friends. And but I only met him once, but I was thrilled by him. I can't tell you. I was just taken back.
Charlie Chaplin, no one, I think, if you really study Charlie Chaplin, nobody even today comes close to the genius he really was.
Well, he really he invented a whole style of comedy. And what about his music? I mean, Smile is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He was a tremendous talent, and he worked all the time, and it was always discovery. Do you remember? You've seen all that stuff.
Right.
They were trying everything, and he was a perfectionist. I the great, and obviously one of the great people of all time.
Robert Wagner, tell the story of Liza Minnelli's wedding, where you were hanging out in the back room with Elizabeth Taylor and Michael Jackson.
Well, I wasn't hanging out back there. I went back there to get Elizabeth because she was the maid of honor, and Michael was there with her, and he was besotted by her, as we all were, and he was sort of gazing into her eyes, and he said, "I love Elizabeth." I said, "Yeah, I know, I love her too. We all love her, Michael, but we've got to get the wedding started." That's the
story. She held up the wedding how long?
Oh. Well, she had forgotten her shoes, so they had to go back to the hotel and get the shoes. It was held up for about maybe 35, 40 minutes. And David and Liza, they wanted it to start on time. Pardon me. And so it was a bit of a push,
Right.
But the wedding went on, and it was great, and it was a sensational party and a fantastic wedding.
But at that point, in the book, You Must Remember This, you realize that old Hollywood is dead and new Hollywood has taken over.
Well, yeah, it was kind of an eye-opener because it was rather a Fellini-esque wedding. There were so many people there and so many characters, and I just kind of, my head sort of popped a little bit. You know how that happens?
Right, yeah.
Back in the day, they would kind of groom young actors and actresses, those who really had no experience whatsoever in acting, and run them through the motions and beautiful pictures, and they just don't do that these days. Was that kind of what happened to you?
No, they don't, Kelly, but that's exactly what they did with me. I mean, I made a reading. I did a reading at the studio, and the dramatic coach, Helena Sorrell, said, "I think this kid's got something," and they put me under contract for a week, take home 55, and I was in the movies. And they were grooming me and teaching me, and I was in front of the camera. Became the test boy, and I as a matter of fact, I did Marilyn Monroe's both tests at 20th Century Fox. But I got experience with that, standing in front of the camera, working with actresses, and having people move around behind me and things like that wouldn't break my concentration.
But those days, I mean, there's got to be pluses and minuses for both systems. I mean, you have this unique experience of living in the two different worlds.
Yeah, I think. But you know what, McGraw? I think it's how you embrace all that. I just took it in. They were a family. They all treated me really beautifully, and they were all very much for me. It's like joining a team, and they were like coaches. They were stroking you. You can do it. You can be better. Try this. Do that. And it was a wonderful. They were behind you all the way. I mean, they were for me anyway.
Yeah. When somebody asks you to tell them a story about Spencer Tracy, what do you tell them?
About Spencer Tracy?
Yeah.
Well, that's a tough one to tell. I mean, he was a very special. Well, he was considered the greatest actor at that time, and I think the best thing to I had the privilege of watching Spencer Tracy work, and he made it so simple. He just didn't have a lot of things get in his way. He was just into the character and wanted to play whatever sense of honesty that he might want to have brought to it, and he was really he was highly regarded, the best.
He looked like he was an old soul. He always looked old, no matter what part he was playing, no matter what age. He always sort of looked old. Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah, I think he brought a lot to it. I mean, I think he brought all of that, all of those experiences and his back life to his characters, and then scrape it away and make it his. I've had a wonderful experience. I'm on the board of directors of the John Tracy Clinic, which is named after his son, who was impaired of hearing, and they've done such great work. So for me, McGraw and Kelly, the circle sort of always went. It's gone around. It's closed. I'm part of that. Part of the family.
The going forward, Robert Wagner, you dedicated the book to your kids and your grandkids and your wife. None of which you say knew any of this. Your wife, Jill St. John, knows a little bit, but the kids, you never imparted this to the kids?
Is part of it for them?
Yeah.
Well, it certainly was a fantastic time of life. And it was they can probably look at that and say, that was my grandfather's most thrilling time in his life. That would be nice.
Yeah. And what are you working on now? Working on anything now? Big screen, small screen?
No, I just finished doing an NCIS, and I've got a couple of movies I'm trying to put together, and that's not easy, to get the financing and get all of it put together. But we're coming close to it, and I'm hopeful that we'll have it set and we can start shooting this summer.
The book is called You Must Remember This, Life and Style in Hollywood's Golden Age. Is it really true that Frank Sinatra wore a hat to hide his bald head?
Oh, I think that's been documented so many times. That's been documented. And if you look at some of those album covers, the old album covers, he was always wearing a hat. And he was a hat guy. He was a hat guy when he was a kid.
Spoken by a man who has a full head of hair, even all these years later.
Right.
Robert Wagner.
You're on today.
There you go. You must remember this, Robert Wagner. Robert, thank you very much for spending time with us, and good luck down the road.
Thank you so much, and you two have a wonderful day.
Great.
You too.
7:30 here, Big 550,